Thank you for joining us for another RC Square video. This week's video is about Goblin SAB push rods. It's a carbon fiber push rod, comes with a metal end and a ball link end. We take a pair of pliers, we grab the metal link, put the ball link on then, slides into the push rod. Now, the trick is to get it to stay in the push rod. So what we do is we use JB Weld. We have slow dry and fast dry. We use the slow dry, we set it up in a jig and we let it dry overnight. Then the next morning we put super glue on the end of the rod, and then we put thread, just like a regular sewing thread, and we wind it down onto the first thread of the link. And then we come back and we go back and forth and we build that up. And what that does is when the super glue dries, it makes a cast on the end of here so the carbon fiber can never split. Just gives it a little bit more strength. And then we'll put some heat shrink over it, shrink that down, it makes it a nice clean look. This is the Burt Kammerer way of doing it. We cheat, we follow what he does. What we want to do is we want to take the carbon fiber rod and glue this into it and make it one piece. But we also want strength. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of JB Weld. Everybody has their different type of epoxy that they like. We prefer the JB Weld. This is the slow set. I don't know if technically by paperwork there's any difference between a fast and a slow set, but I feel like the slow set's a little stronger when it's done. And then we mix it up. Seeing as we have the shop here, we have all kinds of scrap wood laying around, and I just always put it on a scrap piece of wood so we can throw it away when it's done. It'll be all one consistent color. If you see streaking in it, then that means it's not completely mixed. And then what I do at the end is I leave it in one big ball. The way we found that this works the best is just keep packing the end of it. Now there is one drawback of packing the end of it, and that is that you will build up a hydraulic pressure on the inside. With that hydraulic pressure, the linkage in the ball end can want to push back out. So how we used to do it is on one of our tables, we used to put a couple clamps down at our desired measurement, and then would wedge it in between those. And when you'd wedge it in between the clamps, it would keep it from pushing out. Then after we push the ball link in the ball end, we get it in there. We used to wedge it in between two clamps, and that keeps the hydraulic pressure, the air that's built up inside of it, from pushing back out. So then we're just going to set this down for a second, and we're going to build the second link. Now, because we're using the slow dry epoxy, there's no rush. I'm not one for taking a phone call while this is going on. And we'll do the same thing with the second end. When you have 49-year-old eyes, this is harder than it looks. And that's what a good end should look like on both ends. And now we're going to go over and put it in the jig. And now with our stop on the other end of the jig, we come over, we'll push it in, and then we separate and center the carbon fiber rod. Now we have pre-marked measurements that we've gotten out of all the Goblin manuals, and all the numbers are also available on sab.com. And what we've done is we've made all these measurements on the board, so when we go to make a new push rod end, we just put this in place, clamp it to the table, put the push rod in it. Now this will sit overnight till the epoxy dries, and once the epoxy is dry, then tomorrow we'll do the string and the super glue and the heat shrink. So now that the epoxy has had time to dry overnight, we have our next round of stuff that we need to do. This is a bottle of super glue, and it just has an RC Square logo on it because it stays on this side of the shop. And then just a regular bottle cap. This is from the bottled waters that we drink in the shop. Application stick. This is just a piece of wood edge banding that I have. Pair of scissors. I use my electrician scissors for everything because I love them. And just regular string. It's sewing string, and you can use any color that you want. So what I'm going to do is I take the super glue.
Hey, you grabbed the super glue.
So then you'll take your super glue and your cap, and you'll pour the super glue into the cap. The reason why I do it this way is because I like the application stick, because after you roll the string on there, you can use it to put a second coat over the string. And what you want to do is you want to saturate the string, and it creates like a cast. Now I've done so many of these, probably 5 to 10 a week for customers and just people that don't have the time nor to want. So I've learned that you can get it right on the end of that shaft. And not get it into the threads of the ball link end. Now after you get it started, it's just like anything else. You just roll it from one to the other. And all this is going to do is reinforce the carbon end. And it really doesn't take that long, and you'll get a good coverage. Now I do take it and I go down onto the metal linkage, and I get onto that first set of threads, and that locks it all together. And then I come back and I'll apply a little bit more super glue onto the top of the string. And when this dries, it becomes rock hard. So you have the strength of the epoxy. And just like paper mache or a cast, if you break your arm or leg or something, then you back it up with this. We go to the other end, we do the other end, and then after it dries, we'll put a piece of heat shrink on there and shrink it, and it covers all this up. Then the last step is basically put the heat shrink on it. Take your heat gun. And this just makes for a very clean, finished look, instead of looking at all the string and the dried super glue. Doing it this way, you still have the ability to adjust the ball link ends, but when they're to the SAB specifications, you pretty much don't have to adjust them, except for maybe just a little after you center. This has been an RC Square presentation. RC Square is in conjunction with Rotarywingrc. Please visit our website at www.rotarywingrc.com, rotorcraftrc.com. You can call us at 407-656-7881 or call Kyle, 407-222-6698. Yes, I'm blind. Our Facebook, Rotary Wing RC and RotorCraftRc. Thanks a lot and have a fantastic day.